Good morning, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the weekend services at TLC. Thank you for attending. Thank you for volunteering. Pray for continued revival. I actually am recording this right before the weekend services. It's part 2 of my interview with Dr. Jeremiah Johnston. And I'm talking to him because he has a brand new book out called Body of Proof. It's about the 7 best reasons to believe in the resurrection of Jesus and why it matters today. Jeremiah, I love this because it's scholarly, like literally somebody, who went to Oxford or Harvard or Stanford would read this book and respect it because you come from that Ivy League background and you wrote it with those people in mind. And yet it's also super accessible. Somebody who doesn't come from that background could totally understand this. It's short, it's concise, brilliant job. Thank you so much. But I want to ask you, what are the top reasons? You got 3 minutes. What are the top reasons why we should believe in the resurrection today?
So listen, if you and I are at a train station in Europe, we're never going to see each other. I've got 70 seconds to reel off why I believe Jesus physically, bodily rose from the grave, why it's a fact of history, different from fantasy or the Santa Claus stories or even the Tooth Fairy. Here I go. Okay. Number 1, you cannot explain the change in the Roman Empire without the physical bodily resurrection of Jesus. The world before Jesus and nascent Christianity was one of inequality. Humanity's dehumanized. 40% of the empire was a slave grinding machine. Caesar's Gallic Wars created 1 million slaves so he could pay for his war campaigns. Listen, you cannot explain the rise of healthcare, charity, the university outside of the fact of Jesus's bodily resurrection. Number 2, Jesus called it. Jesus has this amazing way, Rene, of messianizing Old Testament passages, and he applies them to himself. This is why the Old Testament is so important to New Testament Christianity. Jesus quotes Hosea 6:2-3 and Mark 8:31, Mark 9:31, Mark 10:33 and 34, predicting his death and resurrection. Number 3, Jesus adumbrated his power over resurrection in Mark 5. But Jairus's daughter, Luke 7, the widow of Nain's son, he raises from the dead on the way to be buried, by the way. John 11, Jesus yells, "Duro exo, Lazarus, come forth." Number 4, this is a good one. Make no mistake, the resurrection of Jesus and certainly death by Roman crucifixion was not what his disciples or any other Jews for that matter expected of their Messiah. Rene, a lot of people don't know, there have been 28 different messianic claimants in Judaism. Only one of those 28, Jesus of Nazareth, claimed to have been risen from the dead. Number 5, the archaeology and the textual evidence that we have outside the Bible is unimpeachable and overwhelmingly supports the entire juridical procedure we see embedded in the Gospels. My final 2 are my favorite. You cannot explain the conversion of skeptical brother James outside of the physical bodily resurrection of Jesus. After all, Rene, for those that have brothers, what would it take for you to believe your brother was the Son of God? It would take a lot of evidence. And even then, what would it take for you to die for it? Finally, it's the only way we can make sense of the suffering in our lives. Romans 8:18. Paul says, I don't count the sufferings I'm endured to be compared with the glory that I'm going to see someday with the resurrected Christ. Sorry, a little longer than 60 seconds, but that's how I would do it if I never saw you again.
Well, I love it. And that last is so important. As a pastor, I've seen so many people go through loss and through suffering. And if for no other reason than for the hope that it gives people in the midst of suffering, to believe in the resurrection, in the ultimate restoration and healing that is promised us and proven for us by the first fruits of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Man, I don't know how people go through death and sorrow and suffering without this truth. It makes such a difference. Hey, I encourage everybody to pick up your book, Body of Proof. This isn't like a blurb or a commercial for your book. I just wanted to have you on because I think what you have to say is so important. But if people are curious or they're unconvinced, I really, really hope they do themselves a favor and pick up your book. God bless you, Jeremiah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rene.